people apply for jobs in your organization. The question is, what kind of applications do you accept? Do you still have to insist on a PDF, or do you want to see a video? Or is it acceptable to have this easy apply button on maybe LinkedIn or other platforms where people just do one click, or they just send you an email with a URL, a link to their LinkedIn profile? Is this kind of quick application, easy apply, quick application, name it as you want, is that acceptable? And do you think that we should accept that in your organization? I recently gave a couple of speeches at the largest expos and fairs for decision makers in people development in Germany. It was the future of personnel in Stuttgart. That's the southern edition, and Hamburg, the northern edition. And I'm also booked for speaking about that in Cologne. And the question arises surprisingly often, where people said, we have these two kind of people in our organization. Either they say, yes, we should make it as easy as possible, and the others say, no, we need more details. We need to know what their motivation is. We need to ask more questions. And also they need to put in a bit more effort to show that they really want to work here. So where lies the truth? Let's look at the facts. So first, we know that the situation about talent is worrying, and it gets worse by the minute. There's not enough talent on the market to serve all the jobs that are open at the moment, and it's not getting better in the future. There is no tendency that in the future we will have enough talent to find people easily. Maybe you remember the end of the 90s where it was completely different. We had record unemployment. When I entered the job market, unemployment in some parts of Germany where I lived back in the days was about 20%. 15% in the area where I lived. So you were happy about any job. And I was very happy that I signed up with GlaxoSmithKline back in the days. So when you look at the situation of talent, we need to see that there's a scarcity of talent that will not go away. And in addition to that, satisfaction with employers is going to extremes. Either people are very happy and say, that's exactly where I want to work, or people go in the exact opposite, where they say, I hate it here and I'm already on the move. There's a very small group in the middle. And these people you don't want to have in your organization, because people who are in that position often say, well, it's not great, but, and then they say it's close to where I live, I have a short trip to go there and back, or payment is reasonably well, or they offer a good pension package. So they don't talk about the organization. They don't talk about how to help you and develop your organization. They simply say, I like what I get here. And be sure you don't want to have these people in your organization. The willingness to change jobs is on a record high standard. And by the way, even without having a reason, some generations now entering the job market simply say, before I'm 30, I want to have worked in, let's say, 2, 3, 4 different organizations, only to see different places, different situations, different challenges, different projects, different organizations before I decide where to go. So fluctuation, employee turnover is very high, especially high when you do not make an offer on flexible work solutions. So when even now after the pandemic, you say, we don't do that here without giving any particular reason, people will leave your organization, or they stay in the middle ground because they get a lot out of you, but you don't get what you want from them. Moreover, some people now simply decided after the pandemic to realign and, let's say, refocus what they want to do in life. And they came to the conclusion what they want to do in life excludes you as an employer's organization. And to make it even worse, when you look into HR, normally there are not enough HR people to deal with all the applications. They have very high demands in a very complex situation. There are hundreds of different job profiles in the company. And now these people should know them all, sort out the right ones and the wrong ones very quickly, by the way, without any mistakes. Yeah, that's not going to happen, as we all know. So we face multiple challenges. And now we have to look at how to do it better. So first, if there's any option for an easy apply, quick application as quickly as possible, you have to allow it. I want to answer that question unambiguously clear. Should we allow easy apply, quick application, just sending an email with a LinkedIn link in there? Yes, absolutely. And there are very good reasons why you should do so. And by the way, it doesn't mean that you can't answer any question, but when you ask questions which are relevant. So for example, let's say you are in an industrial area in a meat packing district. So people have to work in different shifts. Maybe it's Sunday night and they have to get there and back and they have to do heavy lifting. So it is perfectly reasonable to ask people, do you have a car? Because maybe there is no public transport to get there and get home. Or can you work during weekends and nights in different shifts? Or are you able to do heavy lifting because it's part of the job? sorting out the people who are obviously unsuitable, even if you'd like to give them the job because we're all looking for talent. That's perfectly reasonable. And no one tells you can't do that. However, don't ask for unnecessary formalia or something which you always ask for example, a cover letter. So first, there are cover letter generators. For $10, I'm going to put you the most perfect cover letter in there because they all sound the same. When for the last time have you read something in a cover letter where you said, wow, that's life-changing. I've never read anything like it. No, you just flip over it and then you say, okay, now we get to the main part. There are certain moments where a cover letter is helpful when you do it in the right way. And I give you two examples from real world practice. One, a law firm. A law firm that specializes in very different social matters. It's about environment, etc. And they said, in your cover letter, please write within 2 or 3 paragraphs, why did you become a lawyer? By the way, the CV is secondary. That's not that important. But we need to have the people with the right motivation on board. So that's a good cover letter and the reason to ask for one. Or another company, an engineering office, quite a large one. They needed engineers, and these engineers were heavily involved in international projects, building bridges, very complex bridges across canyons, etc., and very challenging situations. So they asked for a cover letter saying, please write a cover letter, 1 or 2 pages, where you simply describe what have you done in the last 5 to 10 years. So they didn't ask for the degree, they didn't ask for the university, and they also said the CV, what comes afterwards, is not irrelevant, but it's secondary. So these are moments where you can ask for a cover letter when it makes sense to ask for one. And by the way, still some people will say, I'm not going to put the effort in. And when you then say, we can live without these people, that's fine and that's your choice. However, don't just ask for a cover letter because anyone asks for a cover letter. And by the way, you have to be technically flexible. If people send you, any channel you open is a channel where people can send applications. If they apply on LinkedIn or maybe in Germany on Xing, which is a different platform, or they send you a Facebook message or an Instagram message or whatever they send you on email, you must be able, any channel you open, you must be able to answer. You cannot open a channel and then don't deal with the reactions you see there. So technical flexibility means the more you offer, the more likely it is that people will answer and react to your job offer. Be sure that you have people sitting there answering these applications and these messages. And yes, to be very sure, because otherwise I will get the email anyway. When someone will ask me, is it okay just to send me a URL and say, that's my LinkedIn, looking forward to hearing from you? Yes, it is. Full stop, end of story. Because in the situation we are right now, be sure that you see it from the right angle. It's not people applying at your organization. It's you as an organization applying on the talent market to get people to help you what you want to achieve. And by the way, you still need help when you have an HR department. Don't leave them alone. The HR department needs help from the department that is hiring. So let's say in a department of engineers, they need to assign someone who is available for help. And by the way, never go down the route of, oh, we will see when you need help, just call us, because every time you call, they say, we don't have time for that right now. So you need to designate and assign people, specific people who are there in certain terms for certain times to help HR go through applications. Because you need to react quickly. When someone sends you an application, there must be an immediate answer. You can automate that, fine. Then the first personal contact has to happen between 1 to 3 days, not a single bit later. Very quickly agree that you have a talk, either online or on site, or when it's a higher job with more seniority, maybe you want to do both, first via phone, then via Zoom, then on site, whatever you do. Don't do too many rounds, by the way. The more rounds you do, people don't have enough time for that because you don't pay them for spending time with you. As long as you expect people to spend time with you for free, use a reasonable amount of rounds, but people don't have to talk to anyone. Where just round 7, 8, 9, 10, if you really think that people take half a week out of their calendar, you better offer a reasonable amount of money as a compensation. So contact within the first 1 to 3 days. Then you have very quick talks, and then you have to make a decision and send out the contract and get everything back. The whole thing from first contact to having the contract signed back in the applicant's hand signed by him and you should happen between 14 to 28 days. And I know that some people will now sit there and say, that's impossible. It's not possible. Well, it is. And I can tell you with an example where you have no chance to get out with your situation. I talked to Sven Semet. Sven Semet is the former chief who also was responsible and accountable for the Watson program. And you heard of Watson, maybe? No, not the newspaper. I mean, the IBM robot project, artificial intelligence, an international, a global project of highest importance for IBM. And they realized they were too slow. They lose IT talent on the market because it's all just too slow. So IBM made it happen that from the first point of contact until having the contract signed with the person that applied for a job in your organization, all this happens within 30 days or less. And when IBM on a global scale can do it, there is no chance that you now can say we can't. And when you now say, oh, we're a lot smaller than IBM, well, IBM has to go through all the compliance processes, so that takes a while. When you are a smaller organization, you have less people, I give you that. However, you have less compliance, less regulation as well. And that's the point where you can act quicker. It is very important that from first point of contact to having everything done, you stay below the 30-day mark, preferably somewhere in between 14 to 28 days. The longer you wait, and the less contact you have, the more likely it is that someone is emotionally committed to another organization. And as soon as they are emotionally committed, it's called reciprocity. When you take care of someone, they take care of you. So as soon as they are emotionally committed, they will always give you a certain bonus and decide in favor of you over someone else's offer. Sometimes even when someone makes a better offer, they might decide in favor of you because of how you dealt with them, how you took care, how you communicated with them. Not communicating and waiting too long is a recipe for disaster, because the longer you wait, the more likely it is that this emotional connection, the emotional commitment already happened with another organization. More about that, of course, is available. expert.nb-networks.com. Just put your email address in there and you get an update every Wednesday morning. It's 100% content ad free guarantee. Some people emailed me and said that the Leadership Magazine is not for free. Well, it is for free when you go through the expert letter, which is available at expert.nb-networks.com. If you just go via the open internet, you get 2 articles, I think, for free from the magazine, and then you have to pay for it because medium.com, who's hosting it, needs to make a living as well. And I think they give me 0.1 cent per reader or something like that. Once per month, I get, I don't know, $5 or something. So it is important that you only get it for free when you go through the expert.nb-networks.com expert letter. By the way, if you now have questions, because I know that recruiting is rather complex, I am happy to help you with that. Just drop me an email and we have a chat, nb@nb-networks.com. Of course, if you now say, hey, we need immediately someone for maybe running a seminar, speaking gigs, coaching, consulting, mentoring, or for a bit more long-term project and interim management, or when you say, hey, we have an event coming up and we need a host, an MC, compare, moderator, happy to talk about that as well. But if you just want to have a chat or a virtual coffee, as some people say, happy to do that, nb@nb-networks.com, and we take it from there. Just drop me an email. The most important aspect of it all is that you apply what you heard here, because only when you apply what you heard here, you will see the change in your organization that you definitely want to see, because if you don't want to see change, you wouldn't sit here and listen to me. I wish you all the best implementing these aspects in your organizations. Always happy to help. And for this week, there's only one thing left to say. Thank you very much for your time.